approaching the bus, first thing we're going to look at, you're going to do the strobe light. You're going to make sure that it's securely mounted, not missing nuts and bolts, and not cracked. You come up to the front of the bus, the clip lights, they're amber, they're securely mounted, not missing nuts and bolts, and not cracked. School bus sign is attached, there's no rips, and it's clean and visible. The 8-ways, they're securely mounted, not missing nuts and bolts, and not cracked. The windshield is not cracked, it's clean, there's no illegal stickers. The windshield wipers are securely mounted, not missing nuts and bolts, and they are flush against the windshield. When you look down on the ground, there's no puddles, nothing leaking, there's no wires or hoses that are hanging down, and it's not tilted to the left or to the right. So when we approach the bus, we are going to check the mirror, crossover mirror. We're securely mounted, not missing nuts and bolts. The mirror itself is not cracked, and there's no illegal stickers. I would check the other side as well. The headlights, they're not cracked, they're securely mounted, not missing nuts and bolts. The side markers are the same as well. They're not cracked, and they are securely mounted, not missing nuts and bolts. I checked the other side as well. My turn signal / hazard light, securely mounted, not missing nuts and bolts, and it's not cracked. I would check the other side as well. Mirror as well on this side, securely mounted, not missing nuts and bolts. The mirror itself, the mirrors are securely mounted, they're not cracked, there's no illegal stickers attached to it. I'll check the other side as well. While we're on this side, the stop sign, it opens up freely. The boot is securely mounted, not missing nuts and bolts, and it's not leaking. The cotter pin is in place. The lenses are securely mounted, not missing nuts and bolts, and not cracked. Come back up here. We have the top arm pin. It opens up freely. The boot is securely mounted, not missing nuts and bolts, not leaking, and the cotter pin is in its place. We're going to open up the hood, and we'll do the engine. Start from the top of the engine. You got your air hoses that are securely mounted, not missing nuts and bolts, not frayed, not sliced. The water hoses are the same. They are securely mounted. They're clamped together. There's no slice or frayed of them. We have our power steering reservoir. Make sure that the glass is visible, that the fluid is at the adequate level. If it's not, then you'll have to add it. But it's securely mounted, not missing nuts and bolts. The hose that goes down to the power steering pump is securely mounted, not missing nuts and bolts, and not leaking. And it's gear driven. This side of the engine is gear driven. You have your oil stick. You pull it out, you only have to tell them. Tell her what the description is. You pull it out, wipe it off, put it back in, pull it out, and you read the if it's at an adequate level. If you need to add some, you add some oil. Right down here, that is the air compressor. It's securely mounted, not missing nuts and bolts, and it's gear driven. Steering column right here. It is securely mounted, not missing nuts and bolts, and it only, to move it only 2 inches. It's attached to the gear box, which is securely mounted, not missing nuts and bolts. This is the pitman arm. It's securely mounted, not missing nuts and bolts. The cotter pin is in its place. It's attached to the drag link, which is securely mounted, not missing nuts and bolts. You got the air shock absorber. It's securely mounted, not missing nuts and bolts. You got your leaf springs right here. It's securely mounted. It's not warped. It's not cracked, and they're securely mounted with the U-bolts. And you get the leaf spring hanger right there. It's securely mounted, not missing nuts and bolts. I'll check the other side as well. You got your air chamber, brake chamber right here. It's securely mounted, not missing nuts and bolts. It is not cracked or broken. You got your slack adjuster and push rod, and they're in place. If you chalk the wheels, and put it in neutral, it should not move more than 1 inch of play. I checked the other side as well. You got your brake drum that's securely mounted, not missing nuts and bolts. And you got your lining, and it should not be dangerously thin or worn, and there should not be any grease deposits on it. The rim, it should be not broken or warped, and the tire should be there shouldn't be any bubbles or any cuts. The tire tread is 4/32 on the front. They cannot be recapped on the front. Again, I check all of this on the other side as well. The tire itself, outside, as I said, there shouldn't be any bubbles, any cuts. The rim should be no warps, no cuts in it or welded. The lug nuts should be securely mounted and tightened. The hub should be not leaking. The air pressure of the tires should be 90 to 100 psi. The valve stem should be securely installed, and there shouldn't be leaking with the cap on. And I would check it with a gauge. I check the other side as well. We'll go on the other side and do that side of the engine. You have the coolant reservoir tank, this black tank right here. You have a securely mounted, not missing any nuts and bolts. There is a glass bubble that's underneath the hoses that indicates that if it's at the adequate level. If it wasn't, then you would have to wait till the engine is cooled off, and you'd have to do the old-fashioned way of opening up the cap and checking it from there if it needed coolant. The hoses that are attached, they are securely mounted, not frayed, not cut. We have our alternator that's securely mounted, not missing nuts and bolts. the wires are not loosened in it or hanging, and they are and it's geared belt driven. Excuse me, belt driven on this side. The belt is securely attached. It shouldn't be more than between 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch. And then you have your water pump that's right down here, that's securely mounted, not missing nuts and bolts, and not leaking, and it's belt driven as well. So that's all for the engine part. Talk about it. You got your emergency exits. It's clearly visible. The tape around it is attached. There's no cuts in it. You have your clip lights that's securely mounted, not missing nuts and bolts. They're amber in the from the tire up color, and red in the back. I checked the other side as well. You got your turn signal and hazard light that is on both sides, that's securely mounted, not missing nuts and bolts, and it's not cracked. Like we did up in the front, we're doing it in the back. You got your, from top to the bottom, you have your clip lights that are red. They're securely mounted, not missing nuts and bolts, and they're not cracked. The school bus sign is visibly visible. It's not ripped. Emergency door is visible as well. You have your 8 ways that are securely mounted, not missing nuts and bolts, and not cracked. The windows, they're not cracked, and the rubber around the windows are intact. There's no illegal stickers at all. We have to say that this is our turn signal / hazard light, our brake lights, and our backup lights on both sides. They're all securely mounted, not missing nuts and bolts, not cracked. You have your tail light, it's securely mounted, not missing nuts and bolts, and it's not cracked. Your stop instrumental panel, stop sign back here, it's securely mounted, not missing nuts and bolts, and not cracked. You have your hinges, door hinges that are securely mounted and not missing nuts and bolts. Open up the door. You got the sealant that is attached. It's not cut. It's in place because it's supposed to keep the fumes out of the bus. The window rubber around it on the inside, it's securely attached and not cut as well. So that's it about with the door. Gas tank, it's not leaking. It's not leaking on the ground as well, and the cap is securely mounted. You have your tire that is on the outside, so there's no bubbles, there's no cuts. The tread on the backs are 2/32. The rim is not warped and it's not cracked. Your lug nuts are securely mounted. Your stem, valve stem is attached. It's not leaking. The cap is on. I check it with a gauge as well, and the air pressure is 90 to 100 psi. There's no spacers in between, and there's no objects that are in between the tires as well. Now we're going underneath the bus. The floor is intact. It's securely mounted. There's no holes on the floor. Our frame goes from the beginning of the bus, start the beginning to the end, and it's securely mounted, not missing nuts and bolts, and it's not warped. The crossover members is securely mounted, not missing in nuts and bolts. We got our exhaust system. It's securely mounted, not missing nuts and bolts. U-bolts are intact, not missing nuts and bolts. It goes out, the pipe goes out 1 inch out of the bus. We have our drive shaft. We have our hanger that is securely mounted, not missing nuts and bolts. We have our U-joint right here, securely mounted, not missing nuts and bolts. And we have our U-bolts right there, securely mounted, not missing any nuts and bolts. So that is the drive shaft right there. We have our tire, inside tire, like what we did up in the front. We have to do it back here. You have the brake drum, you have the brake lining that doesn't need the that needs to make sure it's not dangerously thin. You have I'll say the tire. I'll check everything on the other side as well. You have your brake chamber, like we did up there up in the front. It's securely mounted, not missing nuts and bolts, and not broken or cracked. Your shock absorber back there, securely mounted, not missing nuts and bolts. I check everything on the other side as well. You have your right behind here, you have your slack adjuster and push rod. They're in place and not missing nuts and bolts. You have your leaf springs up here. They're not warped or cracked. I check everything on the other side as well. Back there is your gas tank, and it's holding up by the gas cage. The cage is securely mounted, not missing nuts and bolts. So is the tank. And if we turn back this way, there is that's the DEF tank and cage. Both of them are securely mounted, not missing any nuts and bolts. I believe that is everything. So we are done for underneath up freely. The glass is intact. There's no illegal stickers. It's not cracked. The rubber around it is intact. You got the steps that are securely mounted, not missing nuts and bolts, and it's intact. Watch your step sign is intact. Your steps light is securely mounted, not missing nuts and bolts, and not cracked. We will have this turn on when we do the light system, and the headlights are on. This will come on with the door being open. Handrails, securely mounted, not missing nuts and bolts. We will do the emergency equipment. On this bus, we have our extinguisher right here, and it's going to be in the green, and that means that it's in the charging area, so it's perfect. You have your first aid kit, your body fluid kit that are fully stocked. You have your triangles right here, 3 triangles. Now what's not in here, but you have to say, is your 3 spare fuses. So you have to let her know that there's 3 spare fuses. And that is it with the emergency equipment. I'm going to crank up the bus to build up the air pressure, and we will do the emergency exit. Make sure they're working properly. Alright, we're going to use them. Check the seats. sure that they are securely mounted. I'm doing it from all the way up to right here. I will check the rest of the seats as well. Emergency window. You open this one, you can hear the alarm go off. Open up it, make sure it opens. I would check all the other windows as well. You have the emergency exit roof hatch. I'm not going to open it up, but I will tell you, I'll show you that you turn the knob and then push up and it would go out. The other one I would do as well. Walk back here, we'll see about the door. Open up the door. You can hear the alarm. It's working properly. So check the driver's seat, make sure that it's securely mounted, not missing nuts and bolts. Seat belt. It goes back and forth freely. There's no cuts, and it's working properly. Now I'm going to sit in the seat. I'm going to adjust the seat. Once I get in the seat, I have to put my seatbelt on. If I don't put my seatbelt on, I fail the test. And I keep the seatbelt on for the remainder of the test. So, I'm going to do the brake test. And I'm going to do it verbally first, and then I will demonstrate it. With the bus on, the air tanks are between 120 and 140, or governor cutoff. And so I'm able to start my brake test. With them being on, I'm ready to do it. Once I turn off the engine and reset turn the on position, it's going to reset all my dashboard lights, and it's going to reset. Once they're reset, what I'm going to do is I'm going to press on the service brake with my foot, push down the parking brake. I'm going to hold it down for 1 minute, and hopefully I don't lose more than 3 psi in 1 minute. And I'll ask the examiner to time me. And she'll say, time's up. Once time's up, I will start fanning the brake down to 55 psi. That's when my low indicators will come on. Both of them will come on. I will continue to pump the brakes till 40 psi, and then the spring brake will pop out. And that will be the end of the brake test. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and demonstrate it to you. And I forgot to tell you, when the ABS light goes out, then I'm ready to do it. So here I go. There's one. There's two. They're on. So I'm going to continue to pump till 40 psi, and that will come on out. There we go. That's my brake test. I will crank it back up, let it build back up. While I'm building the air back up, I'm going to show you all the instrument panel, dashboard, turn on my headlights, I turn on my high beams. You have to point. My left turn signal, right turn signal. I do my hazards. There they are. I want to tell you about each individual on the dashboard, what they are. Speedometer. These are my air tanks, as I told you before. This is my RPM. This is my oil level. Now, when the motor is on, it's at this level. If it goes up or down, we have a problem. But right here, before the 50, it's at a good, adequate level. This is my temperature gauge. Same thing. If it's at the same level, if it goes above the half mark, then the engine is hot, and we have to have the mechanics look at it. Here is my battery voltage at 14.0. You can go from 12 to 14. And here's my DEF level. It's at 94%. And that's all I have to do on this. I turn on my windshield wipers all the way. And I turn on the washer. Make sure it's working. So it's working adequately. Okay? My horn works. It works. The windshield from the inside, the wipers are, as I say, they're flush up against the windshield, so that is good. My mirrors, all my mirrors, including the stupid mirror, is securely mounted, not missing nuts and bolts. Crossover mirrors are all adjusted to me. The crossover mirrors are for when I drop off and pick up students. So they are adjusted to me. I'm going to do the heaters. I'm going to turn on all the heaters and heater fans. You can hear. And you have to put your arm down, hand down, make sure it's running. And you can feel it. I'm going to turn it off. The defrost fan. Go all the way to high, put your hand up here, and you can feel it. You don't have to worry about any of these other lights, interior lights, or noise button. All you have to worry about is your master switch for your service door and the master for the 8-ways, master lights. So I am going to turn on the master switch, or the master switch is already on. Turn on the master, the 8-ways, and right now you get the amber lights going on up there as well. When I open up the door, the service door with the blue right here, you got stop arm out there. You got your stop sign going right there, and you got your 8-ways going right there. While the door is open and headlights are on, I got my light at the stairwell, and it's working, it's functioning what it's supposed to be doing. My strobe light is going on. You can't see it right now, but when your examiner is out there, she can see it. You can tell her to see if it's working functionally. So we will close the door, and when it's time for your examiner to go outside, you will ask her to go outside, and you will go through the same motions with the motor on, with your headlights going high beams. She'll put her thumbs up. Left turn signal, thumbs up. Right footprints and a thumbs up. Your hazards, etc., etc. She'll put her thumbs up. You'll go through your 8 ways. She'll be up there in the front. Now she'll walk to the back, and you watch her in the mirror, and you'll do the same exact thing that you go through the motions. She'll put her thumbs up, thumbs up. Now the only 2 things that you can't do in the front, but you can do in the back, is you put it in reverse, and she'll put her thumbs up, and you do your brake. She'll check your brakes. She'll put her thumbs up. So there's 2 other brake tests that you got to, one you have to perform, the other one you just tell her. The one that we're going to do, I'm going to perform, and then the next one I'll tell you about it. This one, you see if the brake is actually working. With the brake engaged, you'll put it in drive, take your foot off the brake and put it on the accelerator, and you see that it lunges. It's not going anywhere. You do it for the reverse as well too. You hear it beeping. Do the same thing. You can hear it lunge. Feel it lunge. That test is to make sure that the brakes are intact and they're working. The next one that you only tell her, and that is if you put in drive, you'll go 5 miles an hour. And once you go 5 miles an hour, you put the brake on. When you put the brake on and it goes to the right or goes to the left, it's out of alignment. So you have to let the shop know. And that's it. And that is the whole inspection of the bus. You have any questions?
No, I'm good.
You good? Yeah. But yeah, I think that with you going through and hearing what I went through, so